America pioneered conservation, but it wasn't easy. It took the determination of our most visionary leaders and citizens to protect this country's great natural heritage. That tradition and spirit is alive in the man we celebrate tonight, Donal O'Brien. Through a career spanning 5 decades, Donal has led some of America's most respected conservation organizations, protected bird habitat on an unprecedented scale, graced the world with award-winning decoys, held a challenging law career, lived the life of a sportsman, all while holding birding marathons no one else could hope to match. Above all, he's inspired so many others to embrace conservation.
15 years ago, when I was involved in a brutal fight to save the Everglades, you wrote me a letter. In it, you told me how much you admired my tenacity and how honored you were to be my friend. That letter was like praise from Caesar. It's the only thing that I've ever framed in my life. And in it, you encouraged me to keep fighting the good fight for conservation's sake. It was also the only letter I've ever got from you that didn't ask me for money.
As a youngster, Donal developed a love of nature as he fished and hunted with his brothers in Long Island. Even as a child, you could see his desire to lead others to nature, even when they were reluctant. Growing up, his appreciation of bird life in particular found expression in the spectacular decoys he learned to carve. His skills twice won him the U.S. National Amateur Championship. Later, his decoys would be used to help reintroduce puffins off the coast of Maine. Donal made his way in the world with one significant advantage: his wife of 54 years, Katie. Together, they have raised 4 children, 11 grandkids, who together have appreciated and protected the natural world with an unmatched passion.
What impresses me most about my father is his keen eye. He's a very observant, person. I look back and I look at some of our experiences, whether it was, training a dog or rigging a rig of decoys or going hunting or going trout fishing or salmon fishing. And he did so many different things and does so many different things so well. He's always been somebody who has lived in the present and has looked towards the future. I can never really remember him talking about, past trips or past adventures. It was really always the activity that we were engaged at the time and the incredible sense of enthusiasm that he participated or injected into that activity.
Donal needed Katie's support as he effectively led 2 careers simultaneously. The first saw him join law firm Milbank, Tweed, Hadley, and McCloy, where he served as partner for 28 years. He assumed the role of chief legal counsel to the Rockefeller family and associates, and as president of the Rockefeller Trust Company. But he was just getting started. So began his career in conservation. He joined the National Audubon Society board in 1976 and assumed its chairmanship in 1983, a role in which he served for 15 years. He helped oversee the expansion of Audubon's grassroots network, which allowed the organization to reach an ever-widening audience of aspiring conservationists. Along the way, he inspired many.
Donal's love of birds is abundantly manifested in the flock of people for who he has served as a mentor. I was one of those lucky birds. He transformed me from a fledgling into an adult, passionate advocate. For instance, when he was chair of the National Audubon Society and I was a new board member, I had the idea of educating people about the ways that lawn pesticides are toxic to birds and also kill their bug food supply. He helped shape this idea and make it possible and eventually grow into the full-fledged Audubon at Home program.
Perhaps his most defining conservation achievement was establishing Important Bird Areas, or IBAs, in America. As an avid outdoorsman, Donal realized that effective conservation meant protecting points all along birds' migratory paths. and in IBAs he found just the right tool. They are the places where birds need to winter, nest, and refuel during migration. Today, Audubon has identified over 2,500 of these sites in the United States alone, covering over 300 million acres. A prime example of global conservation, Donal has been their champion from the very start. Beyond Audubon, the Atlantic Salmon Federation, American Birding and Nature Conservancies are just a few of the organizations that have benefited from Donal's leadership. He has been appointed as chairman of the Connecticut Council on Environmental Quality by 3 governors. The list of his other commitments is too long to name here, but we'll list them anyway. The titles and organizations tell only part of the story.
I want to tell you one story which defines Donal O'Brien for me. One day I was down in Washington and I was visiting with whoever I was visiting with, and I run into O'Brien, briefcase under his arm, and he's walking around down, I think it was down Raymond Hall, wherever it was. And I said, Don, you're down here probably the same reason I am on the Alaskan Parks issue. He said, oh my God, he said, I'm down here all the time on that issue. I said, no, not today. Not today, I'm just down here on another issue. I said, well, who are you representing? He said, I'm not representing anybody. I said, well, you're down here for Audubon? He said, no, I'm down here for myself. And he said, I'm very concerned about the Garrison diversion. And I'm down talking to Congressman so-and-so and Senator so-and-so on the basis that something's got to be done here. I said, well, who are you representing? He said, well, do I have to explain it to you? I'm representing myself. I'm a citizen and I'm concerned. And I thought to myself, that's a great environmentalist. That is a great man.
Donal was probably the most steadying man I've ever met. He came into, I knew him when he was first on the Audubon board, when I was first on the Audubon board, and Donal was without a doubt the most steadying factor I've ever seen for a board of directors. He never lost his cool. He kept the board, the ones of us that stayed, in action and steadfastly behind his ideas, and smoothed really terribly ruffled waters. And I have great affection for him and enormous admiration for the way he ran that organization.
Donal is famous for getting in the trenches himself. For almost 3 decades, he and Katie led legendary birdathons, spotting over 200 species in one day and raising millions for bird conservation in the process. While Donal receives the accolades, Katie plays a significant role in conservation too, where she today chairs Audubon Connecticut's board. Theirs is an inspiring partnership.
What mattered most were 2 things, your passion and your leadership. Your passion because you made all of us around you care more than we ever thought we could and commit more than we ever intended. Your leadership because with you at the helm, we all achieved things that we never thought, never dreamt were possible. Thanks just doesn't cut it, but it's all we in this room have. Thank you so much, Don.
The Audubon Medal has had many lofty recipients, but few as deserving as Donal O'Brien, a true hero of American conservation.